sixth or seventh grade, my family went to a conference. These conferences have not been good for me. Now, this was not one that I was attending. This was one that my parents were attending, and I was young enough that I had to tag along with them. And so this particular conference was like a church conference for pastors, and my sister and I were in the children's program, which was kind of like a camp. And so they shipped us off to this dorm room at some college somewhere, and we were hanging out there, and I didn't make any friends with the other kids who were there. I didn't get along with any of the other kids. There was this one curly-haired dude named Toby, and we were sort of ish friends, but he wasn't really friendly to me either. And I got a lot of stories about my experiences at the conferences and my lack of having friends, but that particular conference week was bad. And there was one guy I remember who was threatening to give me a swirly, which, if you don't understand, is when they hang you by your feet upside down above a commode and then lower you so that your hair is entering into the liquid, and then they flush it and then it swirls. So that is a swirly. They threatened to give me a swirly, and somehow I avoided that. And I didn't like these guys. I didn't want to hang out with them. I just didn't want to be there. Well, we went to a water park. We all piled into a bus and we drove to the water park. It was about a half an hour away. And we got to the water park, we all piled out, and I went to the locker, and I put my towel and my wallet and all my stuff in the locker, and I looked around. I didn't want to be friends with any of these guys, and I was all by myself, and it was good. So I just went around and rode every water slide that I wanted to ride. Not that really tall one, but the rest of them I did, and I had a lot of fun that day. And I remember after lunch, I began to get this little pain in my side, something that I would often get, and I used to think it was appendicitis because I'm a hypochondriac like that. And so I went to the bathroom, and in the bathroom, I kind of just massaged this area of my abdomen for a little bit, hoping that the appendicitis would go away and I didn't have to die. And while I was in there, I must have been in there for like 45 minutes, just, kind of trying to figure out why I was in so much pain. And eventually it went away because, it was basically just a cramp, I guess. It went away, and I came out, and the park had fewer people in it. I was like, well, that's not bad. The lines were shorter. So I got to go on all these rides, and I went on even more of them. The lines were shorter. It was awesome. I just went on every single one that I wanted to go on, just walked right up and did it, and I looked around. I didn't see any of those guys who were annoying me. That was cool. I was independent. I was free. Little did I know, the buses had left. Because while I was in the bathroom, apparently there had been some announcement that said it's time for my group to leave. I didn't know that until about 6 o'clock that night when I heard the announcement that said it's time for the park to close. And I went out to the front and got my stuff, walked into the parking lot, looked around, and there were no buses. I spent about an hour and a half there, alone, sitting on the curb. And I don't know how long it was before the guy who was closing down the park came to the gate to see me there. Eventually, he took me inside, made a phone call, tracked down my parents at the hotel they were staying at, got them to come out the 45 minutes or so it was to pick me up and drive me back, and they missed the evening portion of their conference and all that jazz. But all of that to say this: when I didn't know I was lost, I was free. I had so much fun. I was free from all the encumbrances of these annoying people, and I could just be on the water parks, be doing the slides, whatever I wanted to do. I was completely oblivious to the fact that I was lost. And as a result, I didn't care. In fact, that's the next blank I'd ask you to put down. It's that lost people often they don't care. And I want to, give you a little bit of disclaimer here. I'm not saying that lost people, and I know many people in here have a question mark in their mind when they hear me say the word lost. We're finding that out. But let me just say this. Lost people, I'm not saying that they don't care about life, that they don't care about morality, that they don't care about God, that they don't care about their neighbors, that they don't care about their friends, that they don't care about their coworkers, that they don't care about Jesus, or that they don't care about anything like that. I'm not saying they don't care about life in general. What I'm saying is they don't care if you tell them they're lost. If you were to go up to a lost person and say, you know what, you're lost, they don't care because they don't know, and so they don't believe. Let me demonstrate that. Zacchaeus, of course, is a guy that doesn't care that he's lost because he's got all this wealth and all these resources. But if you're in Luke 19, go to the left just a couple pages to Luke 15, and I want to read you another section about lostness. Luke 15, verse 1, we see this. Jesus is going to tell us a story, and so this sets it up for us. Now, the tax collectors, notice, again, we're talking about tax collectors or with tax collectors. The tax collectors and sinners were all gathering around to hear him, Jesus. But the Pharisees and teachers of the law muttered, "This man welcomes sinners and eats with them." Then Jesus told them this parable. "Suppose one of you has 100 sheep and loses one of them. Does he not leave the 99 in the open country and go after the lost sheep until he finds it? And when he finds it, he joyfully puts it on his shoulders and goes home. Then he calls his friends and neighbors together and says, 'Rejoice with me, I've found my lost sheep.' I tell you that in the same way, there will be more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who do not need to repent." And all of a sudden there, we get the first indication of what lostness really is. It's a sinner. Someone who's a sinner like this sheep. And so we've got these two metaphors. We've got a sinner that Jesus is talking about, humans, people. When they repent, God rejoices. And he uses this metaphor of the sheep. Now, none of us in here are shepherds, I don't think. Have any of you ever worked with sheep? I haven't. But I've been told, and my research indicates this, that sheep are dumb. In fact, I've heard stories where a sheep will literally graze grass right off of a cliff. They will just graze right off to the edge and continue to graze all the way to their death. They just walk right off because they're dumb. Sheep have this amazing ability to need a shepherd. And so the shepherd is there trying to keep them all together, trying to keep them all under control. And here Jesus tells a story about this one sheep who gets off track. Now, put yourself in the mindset of a sheep. They're dumb, it's easy. Put yourself in the mindset of a sheep and imagine you're eating your grass, and right to the left-hand side of you, there's a nice looking patch of green stuff. And you're going to head on over here and you're going to eat this stuff. And once you get there, you realize that still further to the left, there's more green stuff. And so you're going to go over to this green stuff and you're going to eat that. And little by little, you're going to end up way over here when the flock and the shepherd are way over there. Completely oblivious to the fact that you're lost. Completely oblivious to the fact that you need to be found. You're not going to care. You've got your grass. You're just going with it.